arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da. Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da.
Welcome, 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 geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new episode of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, we've got something dark and fun for you to visit while you're in St. Louis. We have Carlota and Byron will tell us more about Poe Through the Tales Darkly. After that, Joey V, Janelle, and myself review The Naked Gun, and we'll investigate that huge box office drop for Fantastic Four. Stick around.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And if you're driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you out there. If you are streaming us on YouTube and Facebook, hello. We've got video, which of course means Joey V's in studio with me tonight. If you're listening to us in the podcast form, on whatever platform you get your podcasts, we appreciate you finding us there and subscribing. Try to check in with us on Sunday nights, though, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and watch the show or enjoy the show live if you've never done that before. We always take your calls and texts throughout the show, and you get a little more interactive that way. But if you're listening just in the podcast form, we don't discriminate. That's perfectly fine. Thank you very much for that. We always try to bring you something fun to do in the St. Louis area. We talked a couple weeks ago with Donna Northcott, who had her Hard Day's Night of the Living Dead, Beatles versus Zombies, the musical, stuff like that that's fun. And I know it's August, but I always feel like it's Ogtober. We're dipping closer into the Halloween scary spooky season, which is my favorite time of year. And we've got two special guests joining us to tell you about something fun that you can do in the St. Louis area if you are in that haunted mindset as well. We have Byron and Carlota joining us from Phantasmagoria. Thank you both for your time.
Oh, thank you, dear sir.
Of course. Thank you both for being here. So I love this particular, like I said, the time of year when things get spooky and scary. And this is something that I think I would love, and hopefully a lot of our listeners are in that same mindset. Since Carlotta's in studio, we'll start with you. Talk a little bit about the Poe tales you'll be doing at the Old Opera House in St. Charles, Grand Opera House.
Yes, the Grand Opera House. And not only there, but at the Jefferson Avenue Mission. We have 3 very important shows here in the area, and we are doing Poe Through the Tales Darkly, where we will take you through a whimsically macabre journey through Edgar Allan Poe's stories. We start with The Raven, and then we go into the Cask of Amontillado. We also have poems such as Annabel Lee, and we have The Mask of the Red Death, Telltale Heart, and A Dream Within a Dream.
Very nice. All the classic hits.
Oh, absolutely. The greatest hits.
And Byron, is it just the two of you doing this show? Do you have other people involved?
Well, this particular show, this is the first time we've done a mini tour of only 2 characters. So normally the Phantasmagoria shows are about 20 of us on stage. But Carlota and I started planning this about 6 months ago, and we decided we were going to do this show for us. And so it's been a pleasure traveling around various states doing this particular show with her.
How do you both choose the theater and the venue that you're doing it? You kind of look for something historic like the one on Jefferson and like the one on Main Street in St. Charles? You try to kind of that fits the mood?
We did love the Jefferson Avenue Mission, and the Grand Opera House evoked, I think, a sense of Poe, if you will. They were wonderful places that have history. We loved that because we love to do storytelling with the history as well.
Absolutely. And you walk into Jefferson Avenue Mission and you see those stained glass windows behind us. It will be amazing. Yes.
And I know I want to point out real quick before we get too deeply into this that the tickets are available. We're going to put a link to the tickets in the show notes. So if you're listening to this after the fact, scroll down to the bottom of the page. We'll have the link for the show notes. For the one at the Grand Opera House, the doors open at 6:30. Performances begin at 7:30. And it's $49 VIP admission, includes a drink, beer or wine, a charcuterie board for best prime seating in the performance. So it is a BYOA, right? Bring your own absinthe.
Or Amontillado.
Nice.
Or Amontillado, yes. So when you're curating this, you're telling these stories from Poe, which people are hopefully are familiar with because he's obviously one of the greatest literary figures in American history. How do you curate which ones to do? Do you follow them in sequential order? How does the storytelling kind of flow? We'll start with Byron on this one.
Well, absolutely. So they're chosen for their emotional quality. We don't tell the stories, we live them. We become them. So, we enter into them. So at varying times, Carlota is taking the protagonist, let us say, and taking that journey. It's almost as if we channel the stories. That's the whole motif of Phantasmagoria. We become the stories. And so it's more about the emotional journey. Let's go from deep drama into something that's a little bit lighter, yet, insidious as well, like in Cask of Amontillado. Let us follow this emotional journey of Carlota and Byron from the start to finish. And you actually go into loveliness as well, because Annabel Lee and Dream Within a Dream are lovely poems. So it's more about the emotional journey than a narrative journey.
Gotcha. Okay. And is that doing it in front of a live audience, Carlota? Is there a lot of interaction, or is this kind of just something where we want people to kind of sit back and just take the journey with you?
Oh, no, we bring the audience on the journey with us.
Okay.
So there are times when we are right next to the audience and they are coming along these, tales of madness and sadness and grief and love that Poe tells and weaves throughout this entire show that we have put together. So they as well see Carlota and Byron going through these emotional journeys together.
Sometimes when we end the show, we're actually holding their hands.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Audience members as we end the show. Yes.
Wow. Is this usually performed, I guess, depending on the venue, of course, is you usually do it in the round then? You find a better interaction that way? Whereas usually with, there's that fourth wall between because you're breaking that if you're involving the audience, certainly. Yes,
I think it is venue dependent. We've done it at two different places at this moment in time, and the venues that we have here in this area, Jefferson Avenue and the Grand Opera House, will most definitely be weaving in amongst our audience members to really bring them in with us.
So it's
we've opened it in dinner theater.
Yes.
Where we were in the tables. So we were amongst the tables and with them and all around them. Every once in a while I had to go, where is Carlota? And find her across the restaurant somewhere with audience members.
Yes.
And when we did it up in New York, we did it in more of a standard, legitimate type theater, where we realized how close we were to the audience. And we told them, we don't want to stay on your stage. We want to be down there with them. So we did a lot of that right in the aisles with the audience.
Yes. Even if there is a stage, we'll jump off of it.
So stage diving, it's like a Gallagher thing. There might be a splatter zone. You might want to.
Absolutely.
I'm curious because this isn't like stand-up comedy. This is a show, like I said, a very beloved literary thing. When you go to somewhere, though, like Baltimore, if you're performing it there, is there a little more snobbery? Yo, that ain't Poe. Do you get a little more snobbery depending on where you go, or is it pretty much?
No, I have found that the audience is very excited to hear these stories, and especially when we opened our show, when we would announce the title of the stories, we would have uproarious applause for the ones that people were waiting to hear. And I remember we announced Mask of the Red Death, and everyone was so excited. So they're very excited and interested to hear these stories told in a different way, in a way that they probably have never seen them before.
There was an audience member, her name is Karen Principio, up in Syracuse. And she sent us this lovely letter that said, Poe is my favorite. I have read The Raven 1,000,000 times. I've heard so many people perform The Raven. I have never lived The Raven until tonight.
Wow.
And I think that's what we give them. So, we performed, not Carlota and myself right now, but we have performed in Baltimore a number of times, the troupe itself. And they've been very embracing. In fact, I remember being in an antique store. And, antiques I'm down in the wild land of Florida right now.
Okay.
So antiques go back to, I don't know, 1970. When you go to Baltimore, they're 400 years old.
Right.
So I'm up in Baltimore, and they heard what we did, and they said, "Oh, we have something for you." And we're like, "Okay, what is this?" And they went and got out of the archives one of the original publications of The Raven. And gave it to us. Just gave it to us. And just because of what we did, and because we're carrying the stories with us. So we haven't found that kind of snobbery. We found the reverse, very embracing of both.
Good. And I assume that you'll sell that. That'll finance the European leg of the trip, right?
Perhaps. One day, yes.
You'll be doing Cannes, followed by Rome, which would be great. But I want to say, too, that this isn't just, you don't just do Poe. This is what you're doing currently.
Yes.
You've been telling stories for quite a while. I know that we talked with Carlota about the steamship one. Not steamship, but the riverboat one.
Yes. And those were originally our troupe here in the St. Louis area. We were performing on the Gateway Arch riverboats, and then Carlota took a voyage to be with Byron, and we performed on the riverboats in Sanford, Florida.
Oh, wow.
And so we also have, I think we have trains and boats. We haven't had airplanes yet, but maybe we'll get there. But we have performed at all types of venues, as Byron was just saying, an antique store, because we can really, Phantasmagoria can perform and be the stories anywhere and everywhere. And Phantasmagoria is in their 16th year this year.
That's impressive.
And Byron, I don't know if you want to talk about our fall show this year.
Oh, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, yes. So Carlota, to applaud her a bit, will be coming down here to this exotic land of Florida to perform with us, not just in this tour, but in our main stage tour as well. Because between now and the end of December, we'll have 3 tour shows going out.
Wow.
So Carlota will be doing something called Haunting the Whimsical Tales. And what that is some of your audience may know who this is, some may not. There's an author, his name is Edward Gorey. He won a Tony. Yeah, Edward Gorey. We have been licensed by the Edward Gorey Charitable Trust to create a 100th anniversary show for Edward Gorey, because it's his 100th birthday this year.
No kid. Wow.
And so we'll be doing all Edward Gorey stories. It's the first time we've ever done something like that, gone to a trust and licensed the work. Because normally what we're doing is stories, that go back hundreds of years.
Right.
We actually had our first read-through tonight here in Florida, and Carlota will be joining us in just a few weeks. And Carlota and I will be performing in that show and then coming back and then getting on a plane and doing the other show.
Yes.
So we'll be doing 2 tours at once, yes.
And I'm going to double check to make sure I'm thinking of the correct person. Isn't Edward Gorey, he's the one who did the Gashly Crumb Tinies, right?
Yes.
Oh, A is for Amy, my dear friend.
Yes. I always felt bad for the person who took Lie by mistake. I'm like, I've got that poster. It was one of the first posters I bought in college, and my roommate's like, no, that's going to give me nightmares. That's not going on the wall. I'm like, come on, it's whimsical. That's very exciting, though.
Whimsical. Yes.
That's very exciting.
That's
really cool.
We do.
And will that be something you'll take on tour as well?
Yes, that goes on tour, but that stays within Florida.
Oh, okay.
So a number of years ago, probably about by year 6, we started touring through multiple counties and venues throughout Florida. Because we're essentially like a storytelling troupe that tours, like a circus almost. So no, that the main stage tour for its first leg at least will be here in Florida. Now we're talking with them about what the future of the show may be beyond Florida. We won't know until we open this one. They're going to come down, see it, and then we all get to talk about where it goes next. But the only one that's touring out of state bounds right now is the Poe show.
And where else we've got people listening outside the St. Louis area, obviously. Where do you stop after you go here with Poe?
Oh, my gosh. Well, first we go to Oviedo. Now, that's a wonderful little town in Florida, and Ocala, and then we go to Atlanta, Georgia, and we're going to, of course, St. Louis and St. Charles, both within the same trip. And then after that, we return back to Florida, and we'll be traveling around Florida as we do that. So we're coming down as probably the furthest away is about 5 or 6 hours away, and then the rest are all within an hour or so, the touring shows.
Very nice. And I'll mention the dates again if you want to catch the one at the Grand Opera House in St. Charles, one night only, Friday, September 19th, the Jefferson Avenue Mission in St. Louis, 2 shows, Thursday, September the 18th, and Saturday the 20th. So you bounce from Jefferson to St. Charles, back to Jefferson. And I think I would assume, and maybe it's bad to assume, that you guys are busier with a kind of show like this when it does get into the fallish weather, or is that something you found that this is something we do year round and there's not really a season for Poe?
We opened our Poe Through the Tales Darkly in June actually, and as I said, people were so excited to hear those stories, and so I think storytelling can stretch, all year long, even though they are the macabre sort.
Right.
I think there's a place for them year round.
Believe it or not, we have done a small Valentine's Day tour with all romantic ghost stories.
Very nice.
We have done St. Patrick's Day shows where it was all Irish folklore and legends. We have done midsummer shows. So no, we by about year 3 of Phantasmagoria, we started moving into 12 months out of the year. And so we're always busy with it, yes.
And I'm sorry I missed this one because second only to Halloween is Christmas.
Yes.
And December of 2022, you guys did Christmas Carol and Canterville Ghost. I remember the Canterville Ghost with, now the actor's name is escaping me, but he played Arthur's butler in the 1981 hit Arthur.
Oh, Peter, no, not Peter Ustinov, Alec Guinness. I believe you're thinking of, maybe, I don't know. Now I'm lost.
I'm going to look it up. Because I was so proud of myself that I got Edward Gorey. Now I'm ruining this on Arthur. Hang on. No, not the mouse.
I know Peter Ustinov has played it, so is Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart, yes.
Yes,
Patrick Stewart has done it.
John Gielgud.
Oh, John Gielgud, yes. Why did I say, oh my God.
And Alyssa, very young Alyssa Milano.
Yes.
I was wrong with Alec Guinness. But yes, John Gielgud has done it. I remember I was doing a Doctor Who show. So there's this big podcast that does this Doctor Who shows, and we do a number of them with them a year. We create stories for them. And I'm trying to remember the name of the actor. He's a famous British actor, and he was on the show with us. And we just started riffing. They shut everybody else's microphones off because he had played Canterville Ghost and I had played Canterville Ghost. And so we were just going off on that. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful stories. And this year we're doing a very Dickens Christmas. So we're doing Christmas Carol again, but then people forget that he has multiple other ghost stories of Christmas. So we're going to be doing all of them for our tour this year. So that will be very interesting.
And yes, many people forget that Christmas time, the winter season, was a very popular time for ghost stories and telling them around the fire and things like that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a bad season for ghost stories, but I always think that, certainly, obviously, when you're in the fall seasons when it really kind of starts to rise up on people's conscious. So it sounds like, Byron, that you guys are busy all year round doing tours of different shows.
Absolutely. We also do events, so, we'll host a variety of different festivals, like Carlota and I will be hosting a Dia de los Muertos festival down here.
Oh, nice.
In October. And we do MegaCon every year, the one that's here in Orlando. We've
absolutely.
Also done we've also done the one in St. Louis, actually.
We did.
That's right.
Yes.
Fan Expo. You guys were at Fan Expo in 2022?
Yes, you met Carlota all the way back then.
That's correct. I thought you looked familiar.
Yes.
So we do those kinds of shows as well. I mean, and then we just do like street festivals sometimes, and library shows, educational shows. So we're always trying to keep busy and keep the storytelling alive. Yes. That's our mission.
So when it comes to new productions, what kind of how do you obviously, like you just said, obviously this is going to be a brand new chapter with the whole Edward Gorey stuff, which I'm still buzzing about. I'm a little excited. I won't lie to you. But how is the new ideas formed? Is it stuff, do you like to revisit stuff you've done in the past and tweak it, or do you like to come up with brand new ideas for each season?
Every year, the shows are completely different.
Oh, wow.
So like I mentioned to you that we're doing Christmas Carol again, I'm rewriting it again.
Okay.
We always approach it from a different perspective, a different interpretation, that kind of a thing. So normally it takes about a year to pull a show together. And honestly, for the Gory show, we started negotiating with the Charitable Trust in November of last year.
Oh, wow.
So it will be almost a year by the time we do it. Usually, you go down rabbit holes. You discover a ghost story, and you track it back, and you find another story by the same author, and then you track that. And over the course of maybe 6 months doing research, you start finding themes that you want to pull together. Some go away. Well, I can't use that story this year, maybe in a future year. And then you start, I'm already working on, for example, the Phantasmagoria 17, which is next year's show. I'm already pulling that one together now, because if I don't start doing that now, I won't be ready in time.
I know a lot of characters are coming up on their 100-year benchmark, and a lot of them, therefore, are going back into public domain. We just saw it happen with Popeye.
Yes.
Obviously, Mickey Mouse just came around the corner.
Yes.
Does that kind of thing ever kind of tickle the back of your brains and think, what could we do with Popeye? Is there any thought to that at all?
Okay, I'm in shock right now thinking about a horror story starring Popeye. This could be fascinating. I mean, they just did it with Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
The horror story. We definitely, when something does become public domain, when we're allowed to reinterpret it and edit it and make it our own, we definitely embrace that. There's certain works that we have waited for. That will be public domain in 2 or 3 years. That's the year we'll do it. That kind of a thing. But overall, we're that Victorian, kind of a feel.
Sure.
So we try to stick to stories. We've gone as far back as around the 1200s with a vampire story that was actually in a history book. It wasn't considered mythology or fiction. They thought it was real. So we've done stories from the 1200s all the way to, around 1890, sometimes the 1900s. Edward Gorey is the first contemporary author we've ever done, although we do original works as well. I write a couple of the original stories, as does this wonderful author in Seattle. His name is Eric Heaven, and he writes a number of our stories as well for us.
I know it's probably a little too far in the future, but I love New Orleans. It's one of my favorite cities in the continental United States. And I'm sure, like I said, your shows would probably go over very well in New Orleans at any time of year. But they have those tours they go through. And I was struck by a story of, it's supposed to be the first reported, quotation mark for those of you who aren't watching the stream, case of vampirism in the United States. Brothers John and Wayne Carter were arrested when they found bodies had been missing. They went into their apartment in the French Quarter and found these bodies stacked like cordwood, all drained of their blood with puncture wounds in the neck. And they were tried, convicted, put to death, and interred in St. Louis Cemetery number 2, I believe. But is that, stories like that, is that just too much into the 20th century for what it is you'll do?
Oh, not at all. That was back in the... I think that was back in the 30s.
I believe, 1930, 32.
Yeah, I do remember that. So what you're dealing with there is folklore and urban legend, all those kinds of things mixed together. We definitely do a lot of stories with that. We do our own. We do ones that are discovered, because those are actually, oral history and folklore doesn't have a copyright. These are handed down word of mouth, that kind of a thing. The other thing we do is we work with one author. His name is Mark Muncy.
Oh, I love Mark.
Yes, so we work with Mark a lot. We have read his stories. Every year at MegaCon, we perform about 4 or 5 of his Marks there with us. He answers questions of the audience, that kind of a thing. We do a special show just for Mark Muncy. And we've incorporated his shows, his stories, into a number of our shows. So when we've done sometimes ghost tours or ghost evenings, we've incorporated Mark's stories in. He's a wonderful gentleman to work with. Another person who, this is even more fascinating. We haven't figured out exactly how we're going to form these yet. We've read stories for a gentleman named Bill Slevin. Now, Bill sat on the board of the Warren Foundation, and he is a paranormal investigator. And he has incredible stories of exorcisms and experiences he's been through. So we have read those. And what we're trying to figure out with Bill, he has a new book coming out, so that may help, is how we can do an entire show of his stories.
Oh, wow.
And those are real-world contemporary. I mean, he's still working in the field. I wish I could remember the gentleman's name who he works with. Carlota, you met him at MegaCon.
Yes.
The last student of Oral Warren was with us doing a workshop. And wonderful. So we're looking for a way to incorporate those kinds of stories as well. Storytelling is about anything and everybody. Yeah. It's not just Edgar Allan Poe,
Right, sure.
So, yes, we do those kinds of stories as well. So, absolutely. We did a show a few years ago that was set in New Orleans. It was Tales of the Undead. The entire show was set in a beautiful New Orleans cemetery. And that's the flavor of stories we told. So we're open to the entire world of legend and folklore and mythology and horror fiction. That's what we love telling.
Yeah, Mark Muncie's fantastic. I met him through, you mentioned Doctor Who, my friend Christian Basil, who runs the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS podcast. So very small world.
That's who we do the shows for.
Yeah,
that's what I was talking about.
I wondered when you said the largest Doctor Who podcast. I'm like, I wonder if that's Christian's show. So small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it.
We're going to discover that we're cousins or something.
We went to high school together. Get out of here, Byron. Come on. That's a very small world. But no, that's for anyone listening. I've been a guest on that show before, so if you get a chance, if you're a Doctor Who fan, please check out Legend of the Traveling TARDIS podcast. It's fantastic, and Mark Muncie's a regular on there, and obviously a Doctor Who fan, and like you said, paranormal stuff that he gets into is really cool. Well, again, I want to mention the event itself, which will be, I believe, it starts out at the Jefferson
yes.
on the 18th.
On the 18th, yes. And those Jefferson Avenue Mission doors open at 7 p.m., performances at 7:30. Yes.
Okay, and then the St. Charles Grand Opera House on Main Street. The doors open at 6:30 there. Performance at 7:30. $49. Is there the website the best place to get the tickets, or will tickets be available at the door?
I believe for our Grand Opera House show, we are encouraging, since those are VIP experience tickets.
With the drink and everything, yes.
So we are encouraging online. I do know Jefferson Avenue Mission should have them available at the door as well.
Perfect. This is exciting, and I'm very looking forward to what kind of horrific stuff the two of you can get Popeye involved in. That should be incredibly exciting. But if people want to find out more, maybe they're going to be able, I'm out of town, I'm going to miss these shows. Byron, what's the website where people can go to find out more about Phantasmagoria, and social media handles, please?
So, of course, it's www, although technically I don't have to say that anymore, phantasmagoriaorlando.com. That's our main website. Mm-hmm. You can also find us on Facebook. It's Phantasmagoria Orlando. And we're on Instagram and X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok. That's a thing, I'm told. At Phantaz Orlando, Phantas Orlando. That's us.
Perfect. Very exciting. And anything else you want to add?
I was just going to say that if you do visit the main site, phantasmagoriaorlando.com, if you do go down to the drop bar menu and go to upcoming events, you can find the Poe show there as well.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Byron, Carlota, thank you so much for your time. It's very exciting, and I'm going to try to send as many people there as possible. Like I said, hopefully bring the Edward Gorey one up here, too, because I'd love to see that.
I would love it. That's wonderful, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your night.
You too. Bye-bye now.
There he goes. Carlota, thank you for coming in studio. I appreciate it. Good to see you again.
Of course.
And looking forward to, like I said, all the cool stuff between Poe and Popeye. Poe to Popeye. That should be your tagline.
We'll see
how
it goes. Popeye.
But yeah, so those of you listening, make sure you check out the website. We'll have a link to that in the show notes for those of you who might want to grab tickets. And I highly recommend you do. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to see if this will actually play. It's not playing. There we go. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come right back, chatting all things movies. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
From Kenner's Discovery Time.
I love nuzzling up to you, Wind Whistler. You're so soft.
So soft, my little pony. My little pony is so soft to touch.
I love the way you feel my so soft pony. Paradise.
So soft,
Shady.
my little pony.
Wind
So
Whistler.
soft, you're gonna love
Ribbon.
so much. So nuzzly
Lofty.
soft, you're gonna love her.
Each sold separately. They're so soft. So soft, my little pony. Shady and other so soft ponies sold separately from Hasbro.
Supernatural. Now you can join the battle between brave Lionheart and evil Skull and their eerie ghostlings.
Lion, you're dying. Now, Master.
They change to fight with ghostly might. Turn them into the light and they change into even more powerful creatures.
Now, the lion in me is free. Take this.
Supernaturals. Lionheart, Skull, and Ghostling sold separately. New from Tonka.
H-I-T-S-T-I-A Drumsticks and an amplifier too, but you don't need drums to make these sounds. It's true. Hit six. Hit six. Play 'em in the air. You can play 'em anywhere. That drives you crazy and you're about my two. Hit six. One and only hit six. Master.
Meet the Pretenders, who we're a bunch of cats who'll do anything to get out.
Welcome back to the show. Geek to Me Radio, heard here every Sunday on the Big 550 KTRS. 9 o'clock here in our lovely Midwest time zone. That's 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. For those of you coasters out there, want to make sure we tell you about the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. I know our friends from Phantasmagoria were just talking about their show at the Opera House in St. Charles on Main Street. That's just one of many places that you should go visit. They do special events there all the time. It used to be Java Jazz and Blues. Back when I was young, we used to get coffee there, and then it became a Subway, which was disappointing on several levels. But it's nice that they've now revamped that into an event space. They do all sorts of things. You can rent it out for your personal wedding receptions, graduation office party, mitzvahs, both bar and bot, or even a special event like Phantasmagoria. So you can check that out. But up and down Main Street, these businesses and these restaurants are so cool. I love getting brunch at Novella's because they've got really good scrambled eggs. Scrambled eggs are something you can surprisingly mess up if you're not careful. They have such good scrambled eggs there, plus their bacon is always nice and crispy. And they've got a really good breakfast drink called Bourbon for Breakfast that comes with a bacon wedge inside the drink. But the restaurants up and down the street, whether it's Novella's, whether you just want something to like little lighter fare, you can get barbecue, you can get all sorts of food. The macarons at Sugar and Slice, and then there's all the shops up and down like Cozy Shop, like First Capital Trading Inc., and all these stores, these little antique stores you can go in and find some cool treasures. If you're out of town or whether you're local, start your trip at the website, discoverstcharles.com. I know we're talking about the scary season. They're gearing up for Legends and Lanterns, their big Halloween festival. Christmas is in December. Sorry, I had the wrong calendar up. But you can check out that if you want to interact with the likes of Lizzie Borden or the Wicked Witch of the West, or actually they have the Wonderful Wizard of Oz you can talk to. And of course, the Brothers Grimm and more. That's always fun the last 3 weekends of October. And then right around the corner, Christmas traditions. You can go out there, talk to Santa Claus, tell him what you want for Christmas. And if you speak French, you can go talk to Père Noël. They've got international gift givers from around the world, carolers singing different period carol songs in their actual correct garb. And cobblestone streets when it snows. It's just a beautiful, picturesque setting. So whether you're near or far, plan your trip now at the website, discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. Talking movies, and we're going to, I know I'm throwing our guest a little bit of a curveball because we're also going to talk about Fantastic Four we talked about last week because it had a ginormous box office decline, which was very sad. But our friend Janelle Brimer is joining us again. And of course, Joey V is back with me. So we're going to talk movies for the rest of the show. Let's start with Fantastic Four because Joey did not give his review because he was not here. He was playing hooky last week. And Joey, I know you saw it. Did you see the movie before you heard Janelle and I talk about it, or do you see it clean and then kind of went back and realized that we were right?
I saw it clean, and then I listened to you guys after the fact because I love it when you guys talk movies. I didn't know Janelle was such a comic book nerd and had the Marvel app on her phone. That is great. I would agree with you guys that the retrofuturism is just captivating. I didn't even care that it's kind of a generic superhero movie. There's this saying, how did it end? Portal or bomb? And you think like, oh yeah, they all just kind of end with portals or bombs. But I didn't care because it was just so pretty to look at. And, I was doing that thing where I take my notes and I write down all the things I see in the background. It was fun seeing all those ads for copper tone sunscreen with Johnny Storm. He's perfect for that. And then, Lucky Charms boxes with the Johnny Storm figure in there. So even if you're totally checked out of all the 36 other MCU movies, this is a great jumping on point.
Yeah, I agree, which was that shocked me so much, Janelle, was the word of mouth on this was great. It had a bigger opening box office weekend than Superman, and yet that decline, I don't think I've seen a drop this drastic since Batman versus Superman in the theater, because that had almost a 62% decline weekend over weekend for that. This was even bigger, I think.
Yeah, I think I was talking to some friends about this, and I really think that for the past, let's say since Endgame, past 5 years now, Marvel hasn't put out their greatest. And it's much like the Titanic. You're not going to turn this ship around with 2 movies. Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four are hugely moving you in the right direction. But you've had 5 years of putting out less than stellar stuff. People aren't rushing back to the theater anymore. And there was good word of mouth, but how much do people believe it when people are like, no, trust me, it's good. And it's like, you've had people praising some of these other movies. I'm not by any means crapping on Shang-Chi and the Eternals and stuff like that, but you do suffer when everybody's like, yes, these were great, because you want it to be great. Yeah. And then they're not after, a little time goes by and you're like, So I think it's going to take more history of good movies and showing that they're trying to connect and trying to make quality over quantity before people rush back again.
And I think someone pointed out, I can't remember who I was talking to, said it's Pedro Pascal fatigue. It's not superhero fatigue, it's Pedro Pascal fatigue. Because he's in 3 movies right now. You can go see him at Eddington, you can go see him in The Materialist, and you can do a triple feature of Pedro Pascal tomorrow if you wanted to. And we talked about this when at the Fantastic Four screening, Janelle. I think he's very, as far as his acting skills, he's very mid. He's not great, but I think we were talking off air. We had that phenomenon when someone's in everything, and we went through it in the early to mid 2000s with Channing Tatum. We had the problem with Julia Roberts in the 90s. And again, in those cases, neither one of them are fantastic actors. They play basically the same character in everything they're in. And I feel like that's what we're getting now in the 2020s with Pedro Pascal.
It's true, but I will say that maybe that's part of it. I just really unfortunately think that 5 years of less than quality work has caught up with Marvel. I just think it has. I think it was bound to happen. And like I said, it's going to take more than a couple movies for people to start coming back to them. And maybe it's because they're wanting their old faces back, and it's moving in a farther away. Maybe we'll get that back with RDJ and Doomsday, but I think some people are just kind of like, well, that ended, that was good, and nothing's connecting from here on out, so why do I need to go see them, kind of thing.
Joey V, any thoughts on why the big weekend drop-off?
I don't know. I've been doing my best to encourage people to go see it. It is a little unrealistic, I guess. Oh.
The dogs loved it, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always good when you have 20-year-olds that come home, at random times at night.
No problem. We love dogs. That's perfectly fine. But
I was saying, it's a little unrealistic for a woman to give birth in space and not have her amniotic fluid and any other stuff, gum up the works and the buttons. So that was a little unbelievable for me when Sue Storm was in space popping out babies clean.
Maybe her placenta and her fluids were invisible.
I was thinking the same thing.
So There's that.
Franklin's a very clean child, so
Yes.
we don't know.
It's like Jason Lee and Mallrats. I need Stan Lee right here so I can ask him about the thing's dork. Like, is it also made of rock? Like, I got a lot of questions, Mr. Stanley.
That's certainly. I was just glad the thing had pants on in this movie, unlike Josh Trank's film. But it's very disappointing because I wanted this to be good, and we talked about this last week. I went in with very low expectations, and I think that certainly helped, but they more than exceeded my low expectations because this was a truly great comic book based. I mean, it was a comic accurate Galactus, which I know last week, Janelle, I read on the air a couple of comic book professionals and their opinions. I'm not sure if it's bandwagon jumping on or not, but two other comic book professionals just made their thoughts known. Eric Larson and Rob Liefeld, and both said, oh, so Galactus is supposed to be some space god, but he's super stupid and just kind of walks into a trap. Really? I didn't think about that aspect until they brought it up, but at the same time, I don't want to poo-poo when we get closer to what we want, because that's too much stick, not enough carrot. I'm like, oh, this was great. This was a good thing. Let's keep moving us in this direction. So overall, if you're on the fence about this movie, I would say go see it in the theaters because it does deserve to be seen on the big screen. But it's very disappointing about the second weekend drop off. Hopefully it'll rally for the third weekend and kind of maybe shoot back up or at least plateau. But I saw that James Gunn posted Superman did another 30 million this weekend. So impressive. It's got some staying power on that one.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people wanting to stick it in the eye too of the Snyder Bros that are out there. I think there's a lot of separate reasoning why Superman is doing. I mean, it's a good film. Don't get me wrong. I think Fantastic Four is a better film. Again, no shade to Superman. I just think it's a better film. But I think there was a lot of other extra motivation going into people seeing Superman over and over again. I think there's a lot of wanting to beat. And it already has beat Man of Steel, but I think there was a lot of...
Yeah, well, I know a lot of the Snyder Bros were like, well, you're not adjusting for inflation. It's like, come on.
Right.
Let's. If you're really a Superman fan, dude, you should be happy that a new Superman movie is doing well. If you're just a Zack Snyder fan, just say so. That's fine. We don't need all the dancing around.
Right.
But,
yeah.
And again, if you're a fan of Zack Snyder and his work, that's great. He's done some great stuff. Superman, Man of Steel is not one of them. Just my opinion.
Right.
Did you want to weigh in on Superman at all?
No.
Okay.
Top secret. I was able to sell the free cape I got at the screening for $30. There's some crazy people out there that are willing to pay $30 for a piece of fabric. I don't know why. All
right. Well, I feel really stupid that I sold mine for $5.
Yeah, they were ridiculous.
But to be fair, he was my nephew and he's 10 years old, so I don't feel too bad about it. I'm totally kidding. My nephew, I overcharged him. It was 20. But another movie that came out this weekend was The Naked Gun. I know Joey was not at the screener, but you did see it this afternoon, yes?
I certainly did.
And I know Janelle sat next to me at the screener. I could tell by her body language and her lack of laughter that she was not a fan of the new Naked Gun. And I'll just start by saying it was a worthy attempt because I'm a huge fan of the original with Leslie Nielsen. I even like 33 1/3, The Final Insult. I mean, there were just from a 6-episode TV series called Police Squad that they made 3 movies out of. Absolutely brilliant. Same people who did Airplane, who did the Naked Gun movies. And I thought they were great. When they first announced they were remaking it, I was like, no, please do not do this. Leslie Nielsen will be rolling over in his grave. The more I heard about it, I'm like, okay, maybe. That first trailer, which I accidentally stumbled on, I'm like, okay, this actually might be good. So whereas Superman undershot my expectations, Fantastic Four overshot my expectations, this came in right about where I expected it. This was the baby bear of the 3 movies. It was just right. Not better, certainly. A worthy attempt, but I'll let our guest Janelle give her thoughts first, and I think she is the dissenting opinion.
It's not again that I hated it by no means. I likened it to a cover band.
Okay.
Where some cover bands are excellent, but they're usually piggybacking off of somebody great. And so it's not that the movie was bad. It's just I've seen it before. And I've seen it done great the first time. So why am I watching this one? And again, it's nothing to say like the chemistry between those two is excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a reason that they are everywhere. I mean, like, and I was saying in my review, I think like the press tour has actually been more fun to watch than this actual movie. But it is very slapstick, and there are things that are happening in the background, and there's a joke every 5 minutes, and I get it. It's a slapstick movie. Do not come at me. I understand the purpose and the formula of this movie. I get it. It's just, I've seen it before. And I think in this day and age where a lot of us have seen probably everything at this point, especially if you're on social media, I was maybe wanting the jokes to be a little edgier. I think like I snorted during the Bill Cosby joke, right?
One of the better ones, yes.
But I mean, but some of it was just like, and I get it. I get what Naked Gun is, but I've seen it before. I've seen it before. It was a cover band. It was a cover of the original. And if I really enjoyed the original, I just could turn on the original.
Okay, fair enough. Joey V?
Yeah, humor is subjective, so it really just comes down to if it's on the same wavelength as you. And I've loved these movies when they're done at the highest level, usually by the Zaz team, the Zuckers, the Abrams, the Zuckers. There's two of them. They're brothers. That's why I said it twice. So I actually really love Basketball. That's like my favorite one they've ever done. And then I went backwards and I rediscovered, Top Secret, and I even liked Mafia, and then Scary Movie, the first one. I've really loved all of those movies. So I would say, since I just rewatched the first Naked Gun right after this one, I saw this one and the 2025, and then I rewatched the first one immediately after. I think that there's a better hit ratio in the 2025 one. I think there's more jokes per second, and they're funnier. But it is the exact same plot and movie, basically. It's the same structure. You just hang different jokes on it. And it was a movie that was made for hire. Paramount just owns the rights to this. And for 20 years, they've been trying to get someone to do it. And finally, SNL and The Lonely Island came along, and they offered it to Akiva Schaffer and Seth MacFarlane from Family Guy. And they're the ones that ended up carrying it across the finish line without any help from the Zuckers and the Abrams. So I actually really enjoyed this. And I think you have to see it in a theater with people so you can hear what they're laughing at and then what you're laughing at. People will get different stuff. It's fun to see it with other people. 4 out of 5 stars, I say.
Well, and see, I did give it 4 out of 5 stars as well on Letterboxd because I think it, like I said, was a very worthy attempt. My biggest complaints were some of the jokes went on too long. There were 3 particular ones I'm thinking of that just went on way too long. Like, we get it. So when you do something like that, it's like, okay, you're beating it over the head. Now, I'll just say the snowman scene, that went on much longer than it needed to go on.
My favorate part of the movie.
Of course it was. Mm-hmm. I feel like, Joey, I don't think we can be friends after this because you said it was better than the original.
Subjective.
It is. No, of course. But one of the things that I guess stuck out to me the most significantly in this is that where Frank Drebin, played by Leslie Nielsen in the original, was the best way I can describe it. He was charmingly oblivious to his surroundings and what was going on. I feel like they played, and I'm not sure if it was the direction, the writing, or the way that Liam Neeson chose to play him, almost dopey. Less kind of like these things are happening to him and he doesn't quite understand why, more than like, oh, I'm just not, they kind of bounce back and forth between he's incredibly capable to just downright dumb. And that kind of didn't sit well with me because Leslie Nielsen was at a constant level the entire time.
Jerry Zucker was complaining about this movie for that exact same thing. Okay. He's like, it's not sticking to what we set up. But I would say just based on pure laughs, it was funny to me.
It was a funny movie. Like, Janelle can attest because she kept looking at me like, what the hell are you laughing at, dude? She at one point she threatened me with a knife while we were in the theater.
I did not do anything of the set. Please.
No,
I did not do that.
Of course I'm kidding. It was brass knuckles. But it's very funny. It just was a different type of humor. And maybe it's just, I'm so used to the originals and they were so good that maybe this newer version just isn't for me. Like they say, oh, this wasn't made for you. Maybe that's the case. The Lonely Island guys are younger and hipper. Seth MacFarlane, obviously, he's very funny. I love what he does with Family Guy. So maybe this was just not made for me. Maybe they're trying to make a new audience, kind of like The Naked Gun made me a fan of comedy when that came out.
See, mean, I tried to be fair about the movie in my review too, because everybody in the audience seemed to really love this movie, and I knew it wasn't that I'm not a slapstick fan, because I love Airplane, I loved the original Naked Gun, I loved Three Amigos, I loved 21 Jump Street, I loved these movies that were, like Superbad. I do like movies that are funny. And it isn't that this movie isn't funny. It's a cover band. It is a cover band of the original. And it doesn't make it bad. It just says, the original, I'd rather put on the original album.
Yeah. And I think the one thing too, like some of the stuff was just, even for a Naked Gun movie, is a little too outlandish. I'll just say this movie jumped the owl. And I'll leave it at that. Because that was the point. I'm like, at that point I was kind of like, really? That's when I kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, all right, now we're just suspending disbelief. I don't know if any of the original movies did anything that over the top, unless Joey wants to chime in there.
I think one thing that did influence my opinion of this movie was just how much I hated Happy Gilmore 2, which is also a legacy sequel. That thing was 2 hours long. And Akiva Schaffer, the director of Naked Gun, said, this is 87 minutes. Before he even started making the movie, he's like, this is going to be 90 minutes or less. And he made it sure that all the jokes were tight and they were all tested. And so it's something that when you watch Happy Gilmore 2, you're like, oh, that's what a good comedy is. So that's something that I thought.
Well, he could have kept it like maybe closer to 75 minutes, had those 3 jokes not drug out for as long as they did.
And then Happy Gilmore 2, it's obsessed with the sons of characters. Like every single person in Happy Gilmore 2 is a son of a character from the other movie. But they beat that joke to death, and it's not funny or interesting. They started to do that in the beginning of Naked Gun, and they immediately just made fun of that. And I love that. I wish the OJ joke wasn't ruined for me. That's the one thing, because I avoided all the trailers. That's the one thing that was ruined for me, and I think that would have hit a lot harder if I hadn't been ruined by that.
That was one of at that point when I saw that preview, I'm like, okay, I'm going to really give this film a decent chance, because that's the joke that kind of won me over in the previews.
And you never see him again.
I know, yeah. He never pops back up, not even in the background, which is kind of odd.
Right. You never see him again. It's like, okay, I mean, you're right. But I mean, like, as much as we, is it an uncomfortable, mark on history, but OJ is featured in those movies, like, albeit very little at the beginning and then at the end. But I mean, he is kind of the butt of the joke in the beginning and at the end. And you never did use the kid who's supposed to be his son.
Yeah,
so it's
Nordberg Jr., I guess, or we'll call him. Right. But it was, like I said, interesting nonetheless. I enjoyed it. It is a funny movie. Everyone in the theater was laughing except for Janelle. But overall, I think it was. So out of 5 stars, what did you end up giving it?
I gave it a 3 because I thought, just because it wasn't my cup of tea, everybody in the theater really enjoyed it. And so I was like putting myself just somewhere in the middle. Like I was giving those people the grace of really enjoying it, not wanting to keep people from seeing it, but just that for me, it was okay. I don't know if it would be like, I might watch it again once it hits streaming, but after that, I just don't know. I would rather turn on the original. Whereas again, the Naked Gun, I can't tell you how many times I've got the 3-pack on DVD, and I pop that in for background noise sometimes because it's just so good. Joey, do you have any last thoughts on that? I know you said you gave it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I take notes during films that I know I'm going to talk about on the radio, and I try not to look down at all. My notes are, I have my thumb where I think I'm writing, and then I just write in the dark with my eyes glued to the screen. I looked down twice, and both times I looked up, I was like, dang it, I missed a joke. That's how dense it is with jokes.
It is, and they packed a lot of things in. They had a lot of background things going on, like when the guy's bringing the cases out of cold storage and actually has the big plastic flaps like he's coming out of a meat locker. Little things like that were very subtle, and I enjoyed those. And I don't want to sit here and go beat by beat with the jokes, but you do have to pay attention because there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. So this is kind of a sit up and take notice comedy in that aspect. You do have to pay attention, or you will, to Joey V's point, miss a lot of the jokes. Let's tell you what. Let's take a real quick commercial break. Are you okay to stick with me just a few more minutes?
Sure.
All right. Let's take a quick commercial break. I'm going to set this up correctly because I hit play last time and it didn't play. We're going to do it this way. There we go. So we're going to do that. We're going to come right back. We'll wrap things up. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Our secret.
The Pretenders from Fisher-Price. Squeeze them and they really purr.
Wampa! Hoth Wampa Cave! Look's inside! It connects to Hoth Iron Cannon.
Introducing Hoth World, 3 playsets in 1, new from Star Wars Micro Collection line. 19 die-cast figures and action poses included.
Closed doors. Race tower. Activate Iron Cannon. Connected to Hoth generator attack. Skywalker's hit. Target generated. The world of Hoth is now! Yeah!
Hoth World from Star Wars Micro Collection line. Playsets also sold separately, figures included, new from Kenner.
You can wish upon a star fairy. I've been so busy granting wishes, I'm tired. Well, let's fly home to the land of wish come true, and you ride Lavender.
Lavender, the magical unicorn, Jazz, and True Love each sold separately.
Mom left at the clouds. Now Lavender needs to be brushed. She's beautiful. Your turn to ride. 'Cause the only thing more fun than flying is flying a Lavender.
Lavender, the magical unicorn, and Star Fairies each sold separately. From time.
It is a time when those who control the magic control destiny. Spectral light battle.
The voice of Flint on G.I. Joe and listening to Geek to Me Radio.
It's half the battle. G.I. Joe against Cobra, the enemy, fighting to save the day.
One of my favorite return liners, and I just got to see Mary McDonald Lewis and Bill Ratner again. I didn't get to visit with them because they were both very busy, but I did get to sit in on part of their G.I. Joe panel at Farley Con, which was a great deal of fun. Thank you again to Rocky Spurlock for giving me the press pass, inviting me down to check out Farley Con in Chattanooga. Happy 10th anniversary to Farley Con. It was a lot of fun. Got to talk to Larry Hama. I got to see Mark Spears from a distance because his line was insane, so I didn't get my stuff signed. But I had a lovely time. Got to talk with Chance Bartel, our friend from the Nostalgic Pod Blast, and got to spend some time hobnobbing with some people. We got some interviews on deck that I've put in motion. They're going to all be on the show. I'll announce those next Sunday as to who they're going to be because I want to run out of time here. Before we run out of time, too, speaking of comics and Mark Spears comics, if you're looking for the latest Mark Spears comics, go check out Bugs Comics and Games in O'Fallon, Missouri, right there on Bryan Road. I'd put those on my pull list because the Mark Spears Monsters ones are hot right now. Like number 1, which came out in something like January, is already going for $150 on eBay if you can find it. It just caught people by surprise. I missed number 1. I got a couple of, I think I got number 2, and I started getting the variant covers that he's doing because he's knocking out these gorgeous covers. And not just for his own book, he's doing variant covers for DC and for Marvel. So you can just tell Larry, hey, anything Mark Spears does cover-wise, put those books on my pull list along with World's Finest. You want to make sure you get that. If you want to get Amazing Spider-Man that they're just relaunching, whatever it might be, if you get it on your pull list, you won't have to worry about it not being on the shelf when you show up on New Comic Book Day every Wednesday. You can also join the Avengers Club. That way you start saving money on your comics, your new comics, your back issues, your toys, your games, whatever it is you buy. Larry makes fun of me because I'll buy the Golden Age boards and I'll cut them down to fit the Silver Age bags because if you get the Silver Age boards for the bags, they kind of wiggle around. There's a little bit of room on the side, and that drives my OCD crazy. So I have to get the bigger ones and cut them down so they're an exact fit. I'm like Monk, just less successful. Whether you're looking for comic book bags, boards, whether you're getting cards, you want Pokemon cards, you want toys, he's got everything there. And of course, boxes upon boxes of back issues. Check him out on Instagram as well, Instagram.com/Bugs Comics and Games. And of course, pop in his store, give his Facebook page a like, Bugs Comics and Games on Facebook. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. With just a minute left in the show before we let her go, Janelle, we have Freakier Friday coming up on Tuesday. Where do you put your expectations for that movie?
I've actually heard some pretty good things about it, so I'm interested. I wish the best for Lindsay Lohan. I mean, how can you not at this point? I mean, and Jamie Lee Curtis has really not done anything too, egregious to hate her. So I hope it I hope it does well. I am always a big fan of everybody get to the movie theater and see movies on the big screen. I don't care if you can just get to one or if you can buy yourself one of the season passes at the many movie theaters and see a dozen. Get to them all and enjoy it on the big screen. Put your phone down for 2 hours and lose yourself in a movie. So I'm hoping that it's great.
Yep, I totally agree. Real quick, before we get out, let people know where they can find you on social media.
Oh, I am at Holy, HOLY_ELLE. You can find me on TikTok where I do my reviews at _HolyL. That would be THE_HOLYELLE.
Very cool. Thank you for joining me once again, being on the show and helping us review movies. We'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks so much.
All right. Bye.
There she goes. Thank you to Carlota and Byron for being on the show as well, talking about Phantasmagoria. Link to that in the show notes at the bottom of the page. Check that out. Thank you to Joey V. I don't know which camera to grab anymore because now I got 3 cameras. There he is. You can probably see him on his own camera, but there he is, making the show look and sound as good as it does. Always love having him in studio with us. Thank you to KTRS for letting me be on the air now. This is my 9th anniversary. This year, 9 years on the air. So thank you to all of you who listen and continue to support the show. I appreciate it. And until next week, my friends.
That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Baltimore. Good night.
The Big 550 from AB.